So I have kind of gotten in the middle of something with this yogurt shop called The Big Chill in Century City. Now, I am very outspoken about the things that I believe in. I understand that sometimes my messaging can lose lose its meaning when I get emotional, right? I am human. I am somebody who is just very passionate about what I believe in, and I've lived through enough to know when to speak up for people who don't have a voice.
It's actually what I like to call the narrative that basically takes you out of the responsibility. As far as I understand, this was a video of her which she was meant to apologize, and we can see from the beginning that she doesn't think she still thinks that she has a point. And taking yourself out of the responsibility narrative is basically saying anything and everything but not addressing exactly what you said and the true reality of your reaction. And mind you, this might happen unconsciously because when people are caught up in their reaction and their ego's reactivity, they're not aware of how they come across to people. They don't, most of the times, if they're not narcissists, they just don't contemplate in their head, oh, how am I gonna fuck things up for the other people. They just react based on past experience with other people, their parents, and basically the environment has shaped them in such way. But since this is an apology video, like I said, she romanticizes the irresponsible behavior through I am a human and I'm passionate about my beliefs, which I see this in modern feminism as well.
When I messaged this froyo place, originally I wanted to make a point and I wanted to call out behaviors or branding things that didn't sit right with me, because the truth of the matter is, as someone that deals with an eating disorder, is in recovery from an eating disorder, I still to this day have a hard time walking into a froyo shop, ordering yogurt, and being content with it and keeping it down. I know that seems like not a huge deal to a lot of people, but for me it is.
They want to shape the world based on their likings and the way they prefer it, which that's not really realistic. Just because you have an issue with addiction, I think you should be responsible of the places you go, with who you interact, and you have to make sure that you're not around the people or the substances or the environment that it will trigger your weaknesses towards the substance or the addiction you have. You can't ask companies to stop putting out cookies at the till just because you struggle with food addiction. Now, granted, the companies could make an effort to stop mass producing the food that kills us and the food that really causes addiction, basically the food that it's not food anymore. I am aware that there's a lot of change that food production could make. Basically, it's the same with modern feminism or with the youth culture or woke culture nowadays, is wanting to be naked in front of the world and wanting men to not dare look at you, or basically going against male sexuality. And that doesn't make any sense. We live in a world where there's 7 billion people, and you can't change the behavior of everyone to your likings. I think, like I mentioned before, you have to take responsibility. You know what are your weaknesses and you know yourself, so thus you should take responsibility for your choices, not demand that world will shape according to your preferences.
So by the time I got to the counter, after seeing so much diet stuff and health food stuff, it wasn't clear to me that it was for specific health needs. And so I didn't know that. Like I just took it as, okay, I'm going into a froyo shop, I'm seeing sugar free, I'm seeing this and that. If there was a sign that said celiac, vegan, I would have understood. That would have been clear messaging to me. Because it wasn't clear, I'm definitely jumped to conclusions and probably shouldn't have, gone about this the way that I have, but I'm willing to talk to this froyo shop to help get the messaging right. Another thing that a lot of people don't know.
So, God. So just because she's not clear on what type of, food this shop has produced, she's basically thinking that she has spot a flaw in the system of the company, and that might be true, I'm not sure, but if we were to take a look at her messages and the way she has interacted with these people, that doesn't quite come from a place where you would like to, give constructive feedback to a business in order to help them make their message clear. In other words, if you really want to help some business or someone to help them make their message clear in order to supposedly, like she mentioned at the beginning of this, she wants to speak for those who don't have a voice, hence she has an audience, thus she has a voice. I think you should probably change the way you come across to people, because the way she messaged these people comes as accusative rather than, hey, look, I appreciate your product, I see value in you as a business, but I think there's a flaw in the way you advertise yourself and the way your brand comes across to consumers like me. So I'm gonna help you do that because I have an audience, and I think, people like me should comprehend more about the products you have. But do you think that's what she told them?
I guess it's something that must be an LA thing. A lot of people who have struggled with anorexia, I myself, like, froyo was something that I would go to because it was low in calorie and it just felt safe to me. I know that people struggle with froyo, with eating disorders. So that's why I'm super sensitive when I walk into a froyo place and I see diet stuff. Like, I'm gonna be protective. I'm protective of the little girl inside of me that didn't get that representation at a young age of someone saying, all of this diet stuff.
She's definitely not protected of her little girl. She's definitely protective of her ego. If you want to protect your little girl, well, you make sure you know what she wants, and it's just between you and the little girl inside of you. You don't have to make a world problem what's happening between you and your inner child, if you know what I mean. And this is a human trait, this is not only women or modern feminism or anything. This is how people react when they're in a defensive mode and they're just not okay with themselves, and they just make it that it's about the world. The world is being unfair with them.
Is not okay. You're worth more than that. I also am standing up for just anyone who struggles in LA. Like, the whole country, fuck it. Like,
this is another way how women that haven't dealt with themselves and they haven't took care of their inner world, they pretend that they're being responsible and they pretend they're being caring by fixing the world when they haven't fixed themselves first. Like she already said many times, she has issues with food, right? And she has, one issue doesn't come alone, and I bet issue with her food is somehow past related to something else that I am not aware of. You can't fix the world, you can't stand up for other people that are needing something until you haven't dealt with yourself. Another thing that doesn't make any sense is when we think that we are helping others but we never care to ask what they need. Just because you see a homeless person, just by giving him a house doesn't quite necessarily mean that that's what he needs, you know. Perhaps, you know, most likely he needs connection with someone, he needs someone to care about him, and he needs someone to connect with instead of him connected with his addiction. You can't simplify what people need just because they look in a particular way or just because you struggle with the same thing.
This is a hard thing to live with on a daily basis. The thing about overcoming my addictions, my drug addictions, was because I don't have to, I can walk away from that and never touch it again for the rest of my life. Like, I don't ever have to do that, but I have to eat 3 times a day. This is something that will be with me for the rest of my life.
Now, like I said, I don't know much about her. I'm just gonna judge based on what she said in this particular video. But she doesn't have to eat 3 times a day. She doesn't have to do whatever she says she has to do. On the contrary, I think in order to keep one addiction in place, you don't have to become addicted to something else. So like I said, she's definitely not okay with herself. She's definitely not in a good place. And yeah, I think, you know, definitely she should deal with her own self. At this point in time, she doesn't help anyone, never mind herself.
I left that yogurt store and didn't get the yogurt that I wanted. And then I had a hard time the rest of the weekend.
You know, people have real problems in the world, and just because they go in a shop and they get out of there without their favorite yogurt, another way how she's highlighting that her problems are internally with her own ego and her own psychological self, if that's English. I mean, basically, what happened to her, she just got offended by no one directly attacking her. She is blinded by her own reactivity to the world, and she thinks that the world owes her something.
To be totally transparent. And that's probably something that nobody wants me to say. Like, I don't know, but I'm human and I talk about my struggles and I'm passionate.
When people have f***ed up and they say just, hey, look, I'm a human, it's really difficult to take responsibility and let go of that ego pride. That basically translates into, hey, please accept me, please love me, please. I'm not a bad person.
So I'm sorry that I got the messaging wrong. I'm sorry that I may have disappointed some people, but I'm not coming after a small business as someone with a lot of followers. That's not what I'm doing here.
This is when I say that people talk about themselves. I don't think anyone really mentioned that with those particular words. So why would you need to excuse yourself for something that you're not doing if you're not doing it? I mean, since no one said that this is what you're doing, how do you know that this is what you're not doing? So obviously we can see that this is not an apology. So sorry about that, you know, I'm sorry about that I might have offended people, that I might have done, you know, it's also going around and around. The narrative is never quite as straightforward. Hey, look, I have problems, I have been reactive, I'm really deeply sorry to have wasted your time with this. This is my problem, you haven't done anything to me, and I am deeply sorry. This is not that.
I walked into a situation that didn't sit right with me. My intuition said, speak up about this. So I did. And I feel good about that. What I don't feel good about is some of the way that it's been interpreted and how the message has gotten misconstrued over all of it.
The funny thing that the only person that has interpreted the message is her. You know, the world and the company hasn't interpreted the message she has put out there. I mean, her messages are quite clear. There's nothing to interpret. She is lashing out onto these people because she feels offended.
I will do whatever I can to work with this froyo shop if they want to help align the messaging so where I feel safe going in there and I can eat the froyo that I went in there for.
And no one said that this is their problem. This is your interpretation about what you think this business struggles with. How many other people are complaining about the same thing? Then you could say that this is a problem that the business should solve, otherwise they're going to lose the customers.
I will work with them on that. That is something I'm dedicated to do because I want to make LA and this whole country a safer, and this whole fucking world a safer environment. People with eating disorders should be able to go in and feel safe wherever they go to eat. That's all I'm asking.
Wow, I'm sure we're all familiar with people should feel safe wherever they go, regardless of their choices. I mean, hey, can do whatever I want and I have the right to feel safe, even though I choose to hang around with pimps. No one should touch me.
Literally all I'm asking. So I'm so sorry if it got misconstrued. I don't always get this right. I speak my mind, I'm opinionated, and then sometimes I get labeled as problematic. It's not because I'm looking out to, everything that I'm doing is well intentioned. You have to understand. It's just, look, someone once told me, you can be a celebrity and get it right every day of your life, but you get it wrong one day, and that's what people focus on. And that's what people are focusing on today, and that's okay.
If you've done good all your life as a celebrity, that's good for you. It's not like you've done so much good for the world and now suddenly people focus on their own thing. And even that, I mean, look at Elon Musk, how much this person has done for the world, and then he go and puffs with Joe Rogan cannabis, and now people are leaving his company for that. I mean, what do you expect? We're a large group, yes. People remember more about the negative side of things rather than positive, because that's how we are wired. Now what?
Because tomorrow, I'm still gonna live my truth. I'm still going to get up and meditate and do what I need to do to stay centered. I just want to help continue to make this world a better place. And if it upsets some people, I'm so sorry. And I will listen and try to understand and how I can better be of support to all communities, not just people with eating disorders, but of all communities. And yeah, I think I'm rambling. Anyways, I just wanted to get that message across. It's really important that everyone hears that my intentions were not to come in and bully a small business. That was not it. I walked in, was so triggered that I left without froyo, and it made me really sad. And that's all it was. And I wanted to talk about that. So
Well, hell yeah, if going into a shop and coming back with no yogurt makes you sad, it's when you are not dealing with yourself, you lash out, and perhaps that meditation doesn't work so well because you didn't manage to balance yourself once you got triggered when you got into the shop. So I'm not sure that what you're doing works so well.
if we can make this environment safer for everyone, including people that are in recovery from an eating disorder and just want a little froyo.
Hey, if you're really so addictive to, you're recovering from an eating disorder, how about send someone else to buy you food? If you really get triggered by ads and cookies and knows what, how doesn't make a safe place? Where's this narrative coming from that this not a safe place? I mean, what are you on about? What planet do you live on?
If we can do that while also giving froyo to vegans and people with diabetes, let's go. Let's fucking go. Let's do it. It just has to be clear. And I'm willing to talk about that. I'm willing to put effort into making it clear on how we can do that. I don't know. I'm genuinely sorry that people took it the wrong way. I just get really passionate.
Anyone recognize this way of being? This is how I am. You should accept me the way I am. No, I mean, no, people should not accept the way you are just because that's how you are. People have the right to tell you to F off. This is not being passionate at all, just because you're telling off to people doesn't mean you're passionate about it. I mean, let's not confuse passion with jumble these words, that they don't have any value anymore. Romance and passion and artist and rape and all this stuff, this just doesn't weigh anything anymore because it's just used like that. It's just thrown out with no value. There's no value in it. I don't know, like I said, she's just being not okay, and I can empathize with that. When you're not in an okay place, you're not going to behave okay. Yeah, I think I said it all. See ya.